papasahin mo? Bakit mo gusto ibigay sa kanya?
Imagine standing beneath the blazing afternoon sun for 6 straight hours at 80 years old, turning down every opportunity to sit because you made yourself a single promise. You were determined to personally hand a tennis racket to the young athlete who had inspired an entire nation. There were no VIP passes, no reserved seats, and no special treatment, only patience, unwavering determination, and a heartfelt mission. And the long-awaited moment finally arrived. The exchange lasted only a few seconds. Yet those few seconds became one of the most unforgettable highlights of Alex Eala's emotional homecoming, proving that the greatest triumphs in sports are often measured not by trophies, but by the lives they inspire. The unforgettable moment unfolded in Makati City during what was expected to be a simple fan appreciation event. On an ordinary weekend, the venue would have hosted its usual activities. Instead, it became the center of attention for an entire country. Hours before the program officially began, thousands of supporters had already packed every corner of the building. Every level was overflowing with fans, balconies were filled shoulder to shoulder, and the excitement was impossible to ignore as everyone waited for even the briefest glimpse of the Philippines' newest tennis superstar. Alex Eala had returned home after making history on one of the biggest stages in professional tennis. At just 21 years old, she became the first Filipina in the Open era to reach the second week of the Wimbledon singles tournament. Her remarkable performance earned international recognition while filling millions of Filipinos with pride. For countless young athletes, her success turned what once seemed like an impossible dream into something they could genuinely believe was within reach. That historic achievement sparked an extraordinary outpouring of support across the country. Entire families traveled for hours to attend the celebration. Students set aside their weekend plans, employees adjusted their work schedules, and some devoted supporters even flew in from overseas simply to be part of the occasion. One elderly fan arrived in a wheelchair after making a long and exhausting international journey because he believed that seeing Alex Eala in person would be worth every challenge. Yet among the thousands gathered that day, one quiet man stood out without ever trying to attract attention. His name was Dusty Milan, an 80-year-old retired nurse who had spent many years working in London before eventually returning to the Philippines. While others waved banners and proudly shouted Alex's name, Dusty stood quietly, holding one treasured possession, a tennis racket he had carefully prepared as a personal gift. He arrived early that morning and patiently remained in the intense afternoon heat for nearly 6 hours. Friends encouraged him to rest and find some shade, but he politely refused. He worried that even stepping away for a few moments might cause him to miss the opportunity he had waited so long to experience. When Alex finally made her way through the crowd and reached him, the atmosphere became instantly emotional. Dusty presented the racket with genuine sincerity, and Alex accepted it with a warm smile and heartfelt gratitude. Rather than rushing to the next supporter, she paused to speak with him for a few precious moments, making the encounter even more meaningful. The crowd erupted with applause as cameras captured the touching exchange. Many spectators couldn't hide their emotions, wiping away tears while witnessing a moment that perfectly captured the connection between an athlete and the people she inspires. Although the video quickly spread across social media, its true significance reached far beyond viral attention. Dusty Milan's unwavering patience reflected the pride felt by millions of Filipinos who viewed Alex Eala's achievements as a victory for the entire nation. His simple gesture reminded everyone that inspiration knows no age and that true heroes are often celebrated through quiet, deeply personal moments rather than grand ceremonies or elaborate speeches. Long after the cheering faded and the event came to an end, that brief meeting remained one of the defining memories of Alex Eala's remarkable homecoming. It served as a powerful reminder that hope, perseverance, and gratitude have the ability to unite an entire nation. What kind of belief could keep an 80-year-old man standing under unbearable heat for 6 straight hours without a single complaint? It wasn't fame. It wasn't the desire for attention or social media recognition. It was something far deeper. It was faith in a young tennis player whose journey had become deeply meaningful to him long before the rest of the world recognized her accomplishments. Before the sun had fully risen over Metro Manila, Dusty Milan had already begun traveling from Antipolo. He was determined not to miss the chance to meet Alex Eala. By around 10 o'clock that morning, he had already reached the venue. From that moment on, his entire day became a test of patience. Hour after hour, the temperature climbed while the crowd continued to grow. Families, students, tennis enthusiasts, and supporters from every corner of the country filled every available space, all hoping for a brief encounter with the athlete who had captured the imagination of the Philippines. Despite the packed venue and despite the exhausting conditions, Dusty Milan never once thought about leaving. Most people in their 80s would have looked for a place to sit, searched for shade, or accepted that the wait was simply too demanding. Dusty made a different choice. Clutching the tennis racket he hoped to give Eala, he quietly stood in line for nearly 6 hours, fully aware that there was no guarantee he would even get close enough to meet her. His determination was fueled by something far deeper than admiration. Speaking with reporters afterward, Milan revealed that every time Alex stepped onto the court, he prayed for her before the match began and continued praying throughout every set. Watching her compete was never just entertainment. Every point mattered because he believed she represented far more than herself. To him, Alex carried the hopes of an entire nation, and he celebrated every victory while looking toward an even brighter future with the same pride many people reserve for their own family. What made his story even more remarkable was that his support hadn't begun after Alex became an international sensation. Long before newspaper headlines celebrated her Wimbledon breakthrough, Dusty had already been following her career. While millions of fans discovered her only after her historic achievements, he had believed in her during the quieter years, convinced that her talent, discipline, and determination would eventually take her to the highest level of professional tennis. His story became even more emotional when he shared that he had experienced a serious health scare during a vacation the previous year. Moments like that often change a person's outlook on life. Rather than slowing him down, the experience strengthened his desire to cherish meaningful opportunities while he still could. Meeting Eala became one of those dreams he was determined to fulfill. As evening drew closer, excitement filled every corner of the venue. Then the doors finally opened. The moment Eala stepped inside, the building erupted with deafening applause. Thousands of fans welcomed her home with cheers that echoed throughout the venue. Even Alex appeared overwhelmed by the incredible reception. She paused for a moment, looked across the sea of smiling faces, and greeted the crowd with genuine gratitude before making her way through the event. For Dusty Milan, every minute spent waiting under the blazing sun instantly became worthwhile. Sometimes the most unforgettable moment at a celebration isn't created by flashing cameras, celebrity appearances, or roaring crowds. Sometimes it comes from a few simple words spoken with complete sincerity, words powerful enough to touch the heart of an athlete who has inspired millions. Globe organized Eala's homecoming celebration to bring her closer to the fans who had supported her incredible journey. Rather than hosting a formal ceremony, the event focused on personal interaction. Fans enjoyed games, conversations, autograph sessions, and photo opportunities, giving everyone a chance to celebrate not only Alex's achievements, but also the person behind them. From beginning to end, the atmosphere was electric. Every smile, every wave, and every stop Alex made to greet another supporter sparked another round of enthusiastic cheers. Families stood beside children, lifelong tennis fans celebrated alongside first-time spectators, and the entire venue felt less like a public event and more like a joyful family reunion. Yet amid all the excitement, one quiet meeting would become the emotional centerpiece of the entire celebration. After patiently waiting for nearly 6 hours, 80-year-old Dusty Milan finally reached the front of the line. The moment he had imagined for months had finally arrived. Standing face to face with the young athlete he had faithfully supported for years, he didn't deliver a lengthy speech or try to attract attention. Instead, he offered just one heartfelt message: "I hope you reach the very top." Those simple words carried years of admiration, unwavering belief, and sincere encouragement. They weren't carefully rehearsed or intended to impress anyone. They came from the heart of someone who had believed in Alex long before she became one of the biggest names in Philippine sports. Witnesses immediately noticed the change in Alex's expression. Her smile became even warmer, and for a brief moment, the busy venue seemed to fade into the background. The interaction no longer felt like another stop in a long line of fan greetings. It became a deeply personal conversation between two people connected by hope, respect, and a shared belief in what was still possible. Alex thanked him sincerely and assured him that she would continue working as hard as she could to achieve even greater success. It wasn't a promise made for headlines or applause. It was a genuine commitment from a young athlete determined to honor the trust and confidence placed in her by supporters like Dusty Milan. When reporters later asked him about the meeting, Milan responded with remarkable humility. He simply explained that Alex seemed happy to hear his message and told him she would continue giving her very best. He never tried to make himself the focus of the story or seek recognition for his dedication. For him, standing in line for hours had never been about personal attention. It was about making sure Alex knew that ordinary Filipinos believed in her every step of the way. That brief exchange reminded everyone watching that true inspiration isn't measured by trophies, prize money, or standing ovations. Sometimes it can be found in a few heartfelt words spoken at exactly the right moment, words that remain unforgettable long after the crowd has gone home. At first, Dusty Milan's story seemed like a touching exception, but as more fans shared their own experiences, it became clear that something much bigger was taking place. Eala wasn't simply attracting more supporters with every tournament. She was inspiring an entire generation to believe that dreams once considered impossible could actually become reality. The 80-year-old man who patiently waited 6 hours was only one example. Throughout the packed venue were countless stories of sacrifice, dedication, and unwavering belief. Throughout the venue, story after story revealed that this wasn't ordinary sports fandom. It was a celebration built on years of belief, perseverance, and national pride. One of the most touching moments came from a 12-year-old aspiring tennis player who clutched her racket as tightly as her dream. During the trip to the event, she had practiced over and over what she wanted to tell Eala, but when she finally stood in front of her role model, every carefully planned sentence disappeared. All she could manage was a smile. That simple reaction said everything. For young athletes across the Philippines, Alex had changed the way they viewed their future. Watching someone from their own country compete confidently against the world's best had transformed distant dreams into realistic goals. Nearby, another longtime supporter carried a handmade photo album chronicling Alex's journey from her junior tennis days to her rise on the professional circuit. Every page represented years of following her career, preserving memories from tournaments, milestones, and defining moments. It was a heartfelt reminder that many supporters had believed in Alex well before the international spotlight found her. Another fan, a digital artist, expressed his admiration through creativity. He had spent countless hours producing a custom portrait of Alex and then waited nearly 8 hours just for the chance to have it signed. When asked afterward whether such a long wait had been worth it, his answer came without hesitation. Absolutely. He explained that Alex treated every supporter with kindness and genuine appreciation, making each interaction feel meaningful despite the enormous crowd still waiting to meet her. As more personal stories surfaced, a common theme emerged. People hadn't gathered simply because a successful athlete had returned home. They came because Alex's accomplishments had given them hope. Her journey represented determination, resilience, and the belief that Filipino athletes could stand shoulder to shoulder with the very best in the world. Alex recognized that responsibility during the celebration. She thanked everyone who had supported her throughout every tournament, every victory, and every difficult match. She spoke about how the encouragement of Filipino fans motivated her during challenging moments and expressed her desire to inspire more young people to discover tennis and pursue ambitious dreams of their own. That message carried particular weight because tennis has traditionally occupied a much smaller place in Philippine sports than basketball or boxing. For many years, the sport received limited attention from the wider public. Alex's breakthrough performances have begun changing that reality, introducing tennis to families who may never have followed it before. The growing excitement has also attracted international recognition. Former world number 1 Andy Roddick has spoken positively about Alex's influence, noting that the enthusiasm surrounding her appears to be more than a passing trend. Many observers believe she is helping cultivate a new generation of tennis fans while laying the foundation for a lasting legacy. When respected voices across the sport recognize a player's influence beyond results alone, it becomes clear that something special is taking place. Alex's impact extends beyond rankings and tournament performances. She has become a symbol of possibility. That is why her homecoming resonated so deeply with people across the country. The long lines, emotional reunions, and unforgettable encounters were never just about celebrating one impressive Wimbledon campaign. They reflected years of hope, finally finding a reason to believe. The Philippines has produced legendary champions in several sports, but tennis has rarely enjoyed the same national spotlight. Alex has helped reshape that narrative by proving that a Filipino player can compete with confidence on the sport's biggest stages. For many supporters, every milestone in her career feels personal. Her victories are shared celebrations, and every step forward strengthens the belief that future generations can dream even bigger. As the event came to a close, fans left carrying signed rackets, tennis balls, photographs, and memories they would treasure for years. Smiles filled the exits as families replayed their favorite moments from the day. Alex, however, had little time to slow down. Another tournament awaited, and her focus quickly shifted back to training and competition. Yet she departed with something far more meaningful than equipment packed inside her luggage. She carried with her the racket gifted by 80-year-old Dusty Milan, a simple object that had become a powerful reminder of the unwavering faith of countless supporters. More than a present, it symbolized the encouragement, prayers, and hopes of millions of Filipinos who continue to believe in her journey. Perhaps that is the greatest gift sports can offer. They remind ordinary people that extraordinary dreams are achievable. Through an athlete's perseverance, others begin believing in their own potential. For Dusty Milan, meeting Alex was never about collecting an autograph or taking a memorable photograph. It was the fulfillment of a promise he had made to himself after years of quietly supporting her career. Standing before her, he offered a heartfelt wish that she would continue climbing until she reached the very top. Alex responded with sincere gratitude, promising that she would keep working tirelessly to honor the faith placed in her. Their brief conversation may never appear in record books or tournament statistics, but for everyone who witnessed it, it became the emotional centerpiece of an unforgettable homecoming. As Alex boarded her flight toward the next chapter of her career, she carried far more than rackets and training gear. She carried the encouragement of an entire nation and the quiet reminder that sometimes the most meaningful victories are measured not in trophies, but in the lives touched along the way.